repeated. Now, the question of the hijab is what we are talking about today. Now, if you think about the fact that in India, normally before the ways in which the regressive Hindutva, or if they're Dalits, and of course these marginalizations also intersectionally multiply, as in this case of Muslim women, that those people have to constantly prove their citizenship and ever more just their very humanity. The fact that they are human beings entitled to basic dignities of in terms of how they function in the public sphere is also something that has become contestable. And this is why it is really dangerous. And now when we see ever more the fact that online social media promotes more extreme rhetoric, and that means more extreme rhetoric to target the others, as well as more extreme purist rhetorics in some contexts, it leads to more and more fundamentalist sorts of echo bubbles. Very often, although of course solidarities are possible, but these hates can multiply. There's a multiplier effect of the online medium on these hate projects. Now, the complexity of the hijab issue is really that this would not have been an issue back when I was a child, but also that it wasn't either something that you had to disown in order to show yourself to be a certain kind of citizen, nor was it something that you had to put on to show that you are actually embracing of your religious identity. So what happens, I know this is not, I'm sure there are, you all understand that it is fundamentally wrong to deny someone the right to choice in terms of what they eat, what they wear, what religion they choose to profess, all of these things, what they, who they choose to marry. These are all kind of fundamental basic aspects of that guarantee the dignity of the human adult. The fact that people should have the right to be straight or gay. They should have the right to be to wear a hijab or to wear a bikini. They should have a right to choose their religion. And these are also not just rights that in most places, including of course in India, these are things that are part of the constitution. So what has happened is that these things have been made into contested symbols where you either have to not wear it or you have to wear it. And I'm talking really about that polarization. I'm talking about those who say that a woman has to not wear it if she's allowed access to education, or if she's allowed access to a workplace, or if she's given employment. That is fundamentally wrong. And it not only is it not reflective of any ethos or principles of the constitution or any normal idea of a secular democracy, it is also just fundamentally at a very basic individual level, very morally wrong. Now, if you think about the fact that there is another kind of way in which women are being told and shamed that if they do not wear it, then that is a problem, then that is equally wrong. Or maybe, I mean, take away the word equally. My point is that what women wear should be an issue that is not one which decides the left and the right, and where who gets to liberate women and who gets to protect women. This basically these gendered assumptions around who gets to liberate women and who gets to protect women, and on the basis of which the idea of left and right gets constructed, this is supremely problematic. And if anyone listening to this, if you really think about this, it beggars belief, all of the very horrible things that we have seen, just including in the last few months and years. If you think about, and I'm not even here referring to the broader Hindutva Project. I mean, that I can't put it in 10 minutes, right? But there's enough things that I have said and written about the ways in which this project is transforming the country and taking it on this path that I have in the past also called proto-fascist, which words incidentally that were edited out by a news agency. But if you think about the fact that Muslim women were used on these platforms, that their identities were made the the focus of commercial transactions in the Sulli and Bulli deals, these horrible events that we know of that have happened in recent time, it shows us how this gendered Islamophobia is functioning, how the idea of color and the idea of color, literally what colors a person wears, the idea of dress, all of these symbolisms are becoming part of a control mechanism, and there is an exacerbated moral policing of women's behavior, which of course has a longer history here. But if you think about this specific hijab case, I mean, the constitutional rights are under attack. It is, every day we see newer legal, social, and other vigilante provisions and activities that are undertaken with the fundamental aim of making minorities in India, and especially Muslims, feel unsafe. And while that yields its political profit, it is really important for citizens to be able to see what is being done in their name. And this is of course really hard because there's a whole welter of mechanisms that are primarily meant to keep that ignorance in process, so people don't actually get to think about these things. They don't get to actually critically think about these things, and they are constantly bombarded with the memes and with the cliches about Muslims being regressive, Muslim women needing to be saved. This also of course gets operationalized in the context of Kashmir, right, where the idea of development and the idea of liberation is used as a means for justifying the fundamental violations of human beings, Kashmiris' human rights. And this is an older project. It's we know this from history. The idea that the natives in those who were colonized did not have the right sorts of characteristics to be able to govern themselves, or to, in this case, to be able to conduct themselves, to be able to know how they want to dress, or what are the terms on which they want to access education or employment or anything else. And as then, just as it was problematic then, it is problematic now. It is what is happening currently. It's specious liberation talk. It's fake liberation talk by people who are hardcore regressives, and it reeks of barely concealed bigotry. So when people say, oh, well, we are liberating these Muslim women by telling them what to do and how to dress, it just reeks of bigotry, even as it pretends to be progressive. Why do they target these people? It's visible and easy targeting. In contemporary India, it's a visible form of dress, and it's easy to target women. We have seen in not only this whole idea of love jihad, which is India's unique contribution to the world. This really, I mean, it's just insane in a sense. The ways in which all actions by minorities, and of course it won't stop at Muslims, but the actions by minorities are all seen as always already suspicious, and the actions by Muslim are interpreted within this framework of jihad, so that whatever they do, whether if they gather at a meeting, if they take up a job for livelihood, sell vegetables, marry someone, all of that becomes seen as part of this sinister conspiracy. Now, at that point, people must stop and think to themselves, why is this extent of existential othering necessary for the country? It's necessary for maybe individual political figures, even for political parties, but why does a country need this level of othering? And in my work on Hindutva, of course, I've argued about the various dynamics of this, of how this project functions, which I won't repeat here. But I do want to mention that in terms of Islamophobia, it's multidimensional, it's pervasive, it's deeply rooted, and it functions in various registers. And I've previously spoken about how the Indian Muslim citizen is seen as a suspect citizen. The Kashmiri Muslim is seen as a latent terrorist. The Muslim refugees, such as the Rohingya, are seen as invasive pests. And the nation state of Pakistan, the neighbor of Pakistan, is seen as an existential other, enemy other, right? Not just a rival, by the way. So this So this is a very pernicious project. It creates, its aim is to create and perpetuate a Hindu idea of India, where all others, non-Hindus, and again, men, and then women, and then minorities, and then various kinds of gradations, that they would be entitled to almost, in practice, a de facto second-class citizenship, which would be where their rights and where their rights would not derive from them being rights-bearing individuals, but from the largesse, the benevolence of the majority, and the whims. So that is whimsical, right? So that's whimsical. And now we see this. It's these things, including with this hijab issue. It starts from one place, but it multiplies, and the timing of it, of course, there will be the general elections very soon in a year's time. There are the elections ongoing now, and these things actually kind of transfer across contexts. So this kind of hate speak is a kind of transferable knowledge. It has various modalities through which it can spread and be profitable for political figures in contexts that, outside those states as well. So I think that this is, it's really important that we talk about this. Protests for and against women's rights to do these things do not recognize the fact that this is women's choice. It is not, there's first of all the very obvious thing that, Sikhs wearing turbans, it's part of their religion. Now, do we want to say that all Muslim women must wear hijab? Of course not. I certainly don't want to say it. I want to say that it is a woman's choice to dress how she wishes. And if she sees that as being part of her religion, then then that's her choice. If she sees that as something that she doesn't want to do, then that's her choice too. And this is why it's really important. Now, the thing is that it's like a catch-22 situation. By forcing a minority into a corner where the choice is between adopting adopting a position where they have to say, oh, well, this is something fundamental to our religion and every Muslim woman must do it. And on the other hand, the idea that no Muslim woman can do it. It's a false choice. It's a very problematic choice, and it's a choice that plays right into the hands of the majoritarian project. Which wants to continue perpetuating this image of others, and all contexts are complex, right? So it isn't just that there aren't contradictions here. There are contradictions, but that's why it's important to think through this and to think of what is it that is designated as different. The idea that, oh, well, if Muslim women are allowed to wear a hijab if they choose, then anyone can be allowed to do anything, is deeply problematic, because the context matters. Like with all of these things, it is the context that determines whether something is reasonable within that context or not. And in this case, there are any number of people where I actually know the Kashmiri, but not the Hindi word for it. The thread, the red thread around their. I don't know what it's. There's a Hindi word for it, but that thread that is any number of persons in any school or offices would be wearing that. Now, to say that no child is allowed to wear that after a puja that happens at their ghar is wrong, and likewise. Deciding for people that this is something they cannot be allowed to do is also wrong. It's not difficult to see that the argument for women's right to wear a hijab or to not wear a hijab should hinge on the idea of respecting women as individuals whose rights, just as gender rights, are also human rights, and that they should neither be, as I think Arundhati Roy has pointed out, they should neither be coerced in or out of a burqa. I think that was a context in the statement in the context of a burqa, but they should neither be coerced in or out of what they ought to wear. But this is exactly what happens, and it's wrong. It's fundamentally wrong. The fact that it's politically profitable does not explain why BEAM does not justify why individual Indians cannot think about it. They must and they should. And it's part of this Hindutva scripting of the country, what they want to see. by this method of creating constant controversies around minorities, right? So that people are never really secure, and they're constantly kind of rushing from one defensive posture to the next, and in that process also to try and paint them into regressive corners, and that's what's happening right now. So that's what I would like to really say, that it is very tragic what is happening. There is always hope in the fact that there are so many people of every kind within the country and outside who care for these things and who speak about it, and I hope that we continue to do so, and we continue also to speak not only to those who agree with us, but also to those who disagree with us, but not only out of bigotry and of which is born of bad faith. So if it is, there's always kind of this thing between, a cocktail of malice and ignorance that's at play in the perpetuation of these bigotries. But I think we must also try to constantly address those people and get them to see why this is problematic. At least the ones whose political fortunes or livelihoods or whatever do not depend upon regurgitating the bigotries. To those people we can address ourselves, and I think most of what I'm saying and the points that I'm saying are oriented towards hopefully having that understanding be more diffused through how we think these things. That's all I would like to say. I'm really sorry that I would not be able to address the Q&A, but as I said to Kalpana, my work is all in the public domain. People are welcome to engage with me, just not troll, but yes, there's a lot that we can do if we think together, and the situation right now demands that we do so. Thank you.